He was a billionaire. But at that moment, wealth meant nothing. Standing at the polished marble reception desk, the man felt something he hadn't felt in years: helplessness. In boardrooms across the world, people listened when he spoke. Governments returned his calls. Executives waited for his decisions. Yet here, in this grand hotel filled with chandeliers and quiet luxury, his words disappeared into confusion. He tried again, slower this time. He pointed toward the elevator, then toward the leather folder clutched tightly in his hand. His tone was calm, controlled, but beneath it was urgency. Inside that folder were documents that could not be replaced easily, agreements tied to international projects, signatures that had taken months to secure. The receptionist glanced at the manager, unsure. The manager forced a polite smile, but impatience crept into his eyes. "Sir, we will look into it," he said, though he clearly didn't understand what the problem was. Whispers spread among the guests. Why is he making it so complicated? Rich people always cause drama. Call security if he keeps talking. The billionaire heard the murmurs. He understood English well enough to catch the tone, if not every word. He felt the judgment, the assumptions forming quietly around him. To them, he was just another foreign guest speaking a language they didn't care to understand. He exhaled slowly and stepped back from the desk, frustration flickering across his face for the first time. That's when it happened. From the corner of the lobby, near the housekeeping carts, a woman stopped what she was doing. She had been invisible moments ago, just another maid in a gray uniform, pushing a cart across the marble floor. But now she stood completely still, her eyes focused on the man, her expression sharp and alert. She had understood every word. Every sentence. Every concern. Her heart beat faster as she realized what was happening. She hesitated, knowing her place, knowing the rules. Staff like her weren't meant to interrupt guests, especially important ones. But something inside her wouldn't let her stay silent. She took a breath. Then, with quiet confidence, she stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir," she said gently. The man turned. And when she spoke again, this time in fluent Arabic, the entire lobby was about to change forever. For a moment, she simply stood there, listening. Every word the man spoke made sense to her. The problem. The urgency. The frustration hidden beneath his calm voice. He wasn't being rude. He wasn't demanding special treatment. He was trying to explain that something extremely important had been taken from his room by mistake. Her hands tightened around the handle of the housekeeping cart. She had learned long ago to stay quiet. To do her job. To remain in the background. People rarely noticed maids unless something went wrong. Speaking up, especially in front of managers and wealthy guests, often led to trouble. But this was different. She watched the man's shoulders lower slightly as he realized no one understood him. The way his eyes scanned the room, searching for even one face that showed comprehension. There was none. The manager cleared his throat impatiently. "Sir, please wait in the seating area. We will handle this." The Arab man frowned. He knew that tone. It was the tone people used when they wanted a problem to go away. Slowly, he shook his head and spoke again, his voice firmer now, though still controlled. That was when she made her decision. She stepped forward. The sound of her shoes against the marble floor was soft, but it cut through the tension like a blade. A few heads turned. No one expected the maid to approach the scene. The manager glanced at her sharply. "This is not your area," he whispered. She stopped a few feet from the man, her heart pounding. For a brief second, doubt crept in. Maybe she should turn back. Maybe she should pretend she heard nothing. But then the man looked at her. And in his eyes, she saw hope, small, uncertain, but real. She straightened her posture. "Excuse me, sir," she said politely. The man turned fully toward her, surprised. She took a breath and continued, this time in clear, fluent Arabic. I understand you, she said. You're saying that the documents in your leather folder are missing, and they may have been taken to another room. The reaction was instant. The man's eyes widened in disbelief. The receptionist's mouth fell open. The manager froze, as if the air itself had stopped moving. Yes, the man said quickly, switching to Arabic without hesitation. Exactly. Those papers are critical. The lobby, moments ago filled with confusion and judgment, had suddenly become very quiet. And in that silence, everything began to change. The words hung in the air. No one asked. For a brief moment, no one spoke. The manager opened his mouth, then closed it again, clearly realizing the mistake that had just been made. He straightened his jacket, his tone changing instantly. I apologize, sir, he said, forcing a professional smile. Please allow us to resolve this immediately. The Arab man nodded, but his attention remained on the maid. He spoke again in Arabic, calmly but firmly, explaining that the folder had been inside his room less than an hour ago. He had left briefly for a meeting downstairs. When he returned, it was gone. No signs of forced entry. No explanation. As she translated, her voice was steady, clear, confident. With every sentence, the gap between confusion and understanding disappeared. The receptionist typed rapidly, now alert. Another staff member was called. Security was notified, not as a threat, but as support. Guests who had been whispering earlier now stood quietly, watching with new interest. Some looked embarrassed. Others looked impressed. The manager rubbed his forehead. We had a room change earlier on that floor, he admitted. It's possible housekeeping moved the folder by mistake. The maid translated carefully. The billionaire exhaled slowly. Please understand, he said. Those documents are not replaceable. Delays could cost jobs. Real people's livelihoods. The seriousness in his voice silenced the lobby. The manager nodded quickly. We will search every room if necessary. Within minutes, staff rushed toward the elevators. Radios buzzed. The atmosphere had completely shifted, from irritation to urgency. The maid remained beside the man, translating each update, each apology, each assurance. She didn't rush. She didn't interrupt. She handled the situation with a calm professionalism that surprised everyone. At one point, the man glanced at her and smiled faintly. You speak Arabic beautifully, he said. She lowered her eyes respectfully. Thank you, sir. Minutes later, a call came through. The folder had been found, placed in the wrong suite during a room reassignment. Relief swept through the lobby. The man closed his eyes briefly, thanking God under his breath. When he opened them, he turned to the maid again. You didn't just translate my words, he said quietly. You gave me a voice. The manager cleared his throat. We owe you an apology, he said to her. And our thanks. She nodded politely, but said nothing. She was used to being unseen. What she didn't know was that this moment, this one decision to speak, had just changed the direction of her life forever. The word struck the room like a quiet promise. She will not remain invisible. The manager swallowed and nodded quickly. He took the card with both hands, suddenly aware that this was not a suggestion, it was a decision. The Arab man turned back to Amina, his expression thoughtful, respectful. Thank you, he said simply. She nodded, unsure what to say. Gratitude was something she was used to giving, not receiving. As the billionaire walked toward the elevators, the lobby slowly returned to motion. Guests resumed their conversations. Staff members went back to their duties. But something had shifted. People looked at Amina differently now. Some with curiosity. some with regret. The manager cleared his throat. "Amina," he said, softer than before. We'll talk later." She returned to her cart, her hands trembling slightly as she picked up a folded cloth. To everyone else, it was just another resolved complaint. Another wealthy guest satisfied. But for her, it was something much bigger. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed the moment again and again, the surprise in the man's eyes, the silence in the lobby, the way her voice had carried power she didn't know she still had. She thought of her father. How he used to sit at the small kitchen table, translating documents late into the night. How he told her, language is more than words. It's a bridge. The next morning, the hotel manager called her into his office. He didn't scold her. He didn't question her. Instead, he told her the Arab man had called personally. He wanted Amina's contact information. Days later, the call came. The billionaire remembered everything, her calm, her clarity, her courage. He told her about his international businesses, his need for people who understood language, culture, and responsibility. "I don't offer charity," he said. "I offer opportunity." He offered training. A position. A chance. Amina listened in silence, tears forming in her eyes, not of sadness, but of relief. For the first time in years, her skills were seen. Her voice was valued. All because, in a room full of powerful people, she chose not to stay silent. And sometimes, that single choice is enough to change everything. A week later, Amina's life changed. But the change didn't come with fireworks or loud celebrations. It came quietly, like the moment she had stepped forward in the lobby. Her phone rang early one morning. A number she didn't recognize. Her hands shook as she answered. It was real. The offer wasn't temporary. It wasn't symbolic. It was serious. A position as a language and cultural liaison for an international company that operated across continents. Training under professionals. Travel she had only ever imagined. A future that finally matched her abilities. When she arrived at the hotel that day, something felt different. The same marble floors. The same golden lights. The same reception desk. But the way people looked at her had changed. Staff members greeted her by name. The receptionist smiled with respect. The manager stood straighter when she passed. No one asked her to push a cart. No one ignored her presence. She walked through the lobby slowly, not out of pride, but out of disbelief. This was the same place where she had once been invisible. Later that evening, she packed her uniform into a small bag. She didn't throw it away. She folded it neatly. It reminded her of where she came from, and how far she had come. The billionaire kept his word. Months later, Amina sat in meetings translating negotiations that shaped real decisions. She helped prevent misunderstandings before they became conflicts. She built bridges between cultures, exactly as her father once taught her. And when she struggled, when doubt crept in, she remembered that first moment, standing in the lobby, heart racing, choosing courage over silence. In an interview, the billionaire was asked why he trusted someone no one else noticed. He answered simply. Because the world is full of talent hiding in plain sight. Most people never look down long enough to see it. Amina never forgot that. And neither should we. Because sometimes, the person with the least power in the room has the most important voice. Sometimes, one sentence spoken at the right moment can change a life. And sometimes, all it takes is being willing to listen. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories. And comment below, what part of this story moved you the most.